Welcome in to the DNVR Avalanche Podcast, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, the number one rated sportsbook app out there. I'm your host, Rudo, joined by AJ Haefele. On today's show, we're going to be taking a look at some of the playoff races going on around the league. Some are very over, and others are very less over. So, I'm going to focus on the more interesting ones, probably. But, you know, I mean, that's just the truth. I don't know what to tell you other than that.
Some are less over.
Yep. Hey, I don't lie out here, all right? Only spit truths.
True enough.
Let's go over some obvious things here first. There are two divisions, being the West and the Central, that have three teams that have already clinched a playoff spot, though no team has clinched a top of a division spot. There is the East, which has no one officially clinched yet. And then there is the North, where only Toronto has clinched at the top of the division. North being particularly weird due to the lack of games Vancouver has played.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I was looking at the standings last night and I was like, oh my God, Ottawa passed Vancouver. What happened? And then I saw the games played and I was like, we're good.
7 games played difference there.
I get it.
Ooh, Ottawa does have a 420 points percentage, though. Nice. Get it in there where you can.
Dorian, smoke weed every day, son.
The East is the most competitive division if you don't count Buffalo and New Jersey.
It is impressive.
Yeah. Where even theoretically right now Philadelphia could still get in. They won't, but
yeah.
They're not
I mean 11 points back of fourth place is too far. That's too much crap.
Yeah.
So once again, my irrational faith in the Philadelphia Flyers comes crashing down into nothingness.
As is.
Will I ever learn? No. And the Islanders very quietly losing their way back to the pack.
Yeah, they have. They stopped punching with Washington up at the top there, but
I mean they were straight cozy in this, man. Like they were comfortable. They're going to make the playoffs. It's going to be no problem. Now the Rangers are 5 points back.
I mean, they should still make the playoffs. But yeah.
I mean, look, they're 6 games left. Like we're talking like this. It's close, but the way they played lately,
not pretty.
It's been bad, man. Like it's like they're trying to miss.
You hate to see it. The Central overview: Carolina, Florida, Tampa have all clinched. It's essentially Nashville and Dallas for the 4th spot.
The next 3 teams are all future Central teams for next season.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a bit.
I will say, dude, what Dallas has accomplished this year, they've had a crazy ass schedule. Think of what Colorado's schedule was, but the entire season, with more back-to-backs. And then they've done the entire thing without their starting goaltender.
Yep.
Although, granted, Anton Khudobin just took them to a Stanley Cup final. So it's fine. But no Tyler Seguin. And they are 2 points out with 2 games in hand.
Not bad.
That's a super, and like I did not pick them to make the postseason just because of that. And for them to be as close as they are and like right on the edge of making that post. And I tell you, Carolina doesn't want anything to do with either one of those teams in round 1.
I believe
because UC Saros' second half, UC Saros has been phenomenal in net for the Predators. We're talking like you could maybe start building a Vezina top 5 case I'd have to look at things a little bit closer, numbers, but
yeah.
UC Saros is exactly the kind of that's exactly the situation a top seed does not want. One of the reasons why I'm less worried about the Blues if the Avs get the Blues in round one, Jordan Binnington just really has he's been
average at best.
He's been okay.
Yeah.
It's the team around him that has picked up their play. And that's it's obviously a good hockey team. But Binnington himself, it's not like Binnington caught fire. And that goaltending, I'm sorry, if Colorado gets Philip Grubauer's goaltending that we've seen all season from him, they'll be fine.
Yep.
But UC Saros could straight up steal a series against Carolina.
To Brad's point in the chat, Dallas living large with 12 overtime losses in the regular season has kind of kept them in it.
And they've been in the shootout 8 times.
Yep.
But at the same time, you have to do what you have to do to get those points.
For sure.
When you consider, if the Avalanche were without Nathan McKinnon the entire year, Nazem Kadri, they're 1C. Think about how everybody feels about Nazem Kadri right now. That guy's their 1C. Tyson Jost is their 2C. JT Compher is their 2C or 3C.
Somehow still their 3C, yeah.
Yeah, and Colorado was in that mix. With Pavel Francouz starting instead of Phil Grubauer.
Yep.
It's a hell of an accomplishment for them to even be as close as they are. And whatever, you can orange slices and all right, but they've got a good chance to actually get in. Games in hand advantage. Nashville had their crazy hot streak, as they always do, and they've since cooled. But that's
4-1 now, yeah. And
that's an interesting race, and that race for first place matters.
Yeah, it's far from over.
As much as I'm you don't want Nashville scares you a little bit because UC Saros. Dallas scares you because it's a veteran team that just went to the Cup final that has absolutely refused to budge this year. But you definitely take those teams over playing Florida or Tampa Bay, given how things have gone this year.
Yeah, it certainly looks like Florida and Tampa Bay are on a collision course here. Tampa Bay, I guess, could catch Carolina. I don't think Florida can, given they've played 51 games already.
Yeah, but you're still talking. It's 2 points.
It's 2
and
points,
I don't know.
But it's also
what
2.
Those.
That's true. If Tampa and Carolina are playing each other a bunch, that could really change things. But
not knowing what those schedules look like, I don't know. I think that's gonna be a really fun race to watch. I don't care about this result at all.
But just enjoy this series.
Yeah. But this is gonna be a fun
fight to the death.
I will watch this, especially with the Avs going late now. That will be the series of
games that you can watch. Yeah,
exactly, that I will be prioritizing.
Yeah, and obviously the big story of the regular season for the Central Division was the implosion of Columbus this year, who just haven't been competitive really. Seth
Jones was bad. Zach Werenski got hurt. Patrick Laine, Max Domi did not work out.
Yep.
Nick Foligno got old. David Savard got old. I mean, they did a great job
of selling all those dudes off.
Yeah, they did a great job at the deadline of getting something for their failures this year. Instead of just crashing into the earth.
Yep.
They have what? They got first round picks for both Foligno and Savard.
Yep. That's good value for sure.
So definitely did a good job there.
Yeah. Then obviously we have the West at the top. Vegas, Colorado, and Minnesota have all clinched. Look, there's still very much jockeying for which position teams finish in here, but the Blues have pretty much taken that fourth spot as well from Arizona. They have 3 games in hand, and they're up 3 points.
Yeah, I think we're looking at the 4 teams.
Yep. Barring some nonsensical falling apart from the Blues, it would be tough for them to give that spot back.
Yeah, well, and like this is also where you consider the Blues have a tough schedule.
Yep.
You know, but they've had a tough schedule, and they've still done this. So, good job to them.
Let me actually see. Arizona lost to San Jose the other night, by the way.
Yeah.
So they're not doing themselves any favors, and they're about to play the Vegas twice.
I mean, look at the last 10, dude. 2-8, 2-7-1.
Yeah.
Like you have to win games to get into the postseason. You're not going to lose your way in.
Avs found a way to do that once or twice.
They won at the end.
They won game 82 at least. That's true.
I mean, that was a 95-point team.
No,
they did plenty of winning.
It was just the last 5 games that year was a nonsense of the Blues and the Avs both trying to give that spot away. But
yeah, I mean, we talk Duncan Keith.
Yeah,
2 seconds left in regulation.
So yeah, we'll get into the actual position battles in period 2, but teams feel pretty much decided in the West. There's 1 spot left with 2 teams battling in the Central. The East is interesting. I think every spot is still up for grabs in some way there. Mm-hmm. And then the North is super weird. We'll talk about Montreal, North, and Vancouver mostly.
Yeah, I think the North is pretty well decided. It's still just seeding.
Yep.
And Vancouver has so many games left that you could well, maybe. But then you see last night they get smoked by Ottawa, and you're like, all right. The league completely screwed them.
Yep.
With that schedule.
Here's a month off, now play every day forever.
Yeah. And be close enough that it's oh, you're totally still in this playoff race, right? You're totally still in this. And
are you really? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You're okay, hey, if they win every game, they will absolutely make the playoffs.
Yep. They'd have to win basically 5 in a row to really be competitive.
Yeah. It's a big ask, dude.
Yeah.
The Canucks are just in the league. The league screwed them.
No, you'll get no argument from me there. Yeah. They're living the rough life on that one for sure. But we can take our first period break there, as we are sponsored by DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 rated sportsbook app out there. Check them out today. You can get an amazing bet. There's still time. You have 4 or 5 hours left to get in on this bet when you use code DNVR for signing up for a new account. But all you have to do is take your $1 and you had to turn it into $100 if a quarterback is drafted first overall tonight in the NFL draft. So that is going to happen for sure. So just go do that and get yourself $100 in free bets over at DraftKings Sportsbook. Once you earn that $100, you can bet on the Avs, you can bet on the Rockies, you can bet on the Nuggets, you can bet on any other team in any of these leagues, or you can bet on crazy stuff like other sports that are barely even sports sometimes. So DraftKings has you covered no matter what you're looking to bet on. Highly recommend if you haven't checked these guys out yet. And please use that DNVR code, as it lets them know we sent you over there. You can download their app as well and bet straight from your phone. Turn $1 into $100. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. Colorado only. New customers only. Winnings paid out in free bets. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700. And speaking of the NFL draft, we have a giant draft show this evening coming just for you from our Broncos guys. Highly recommend y'all check it out. Starts at 5:45 Mountain Time. They'll be there breaking down all the picks, talking about how it affects the Broncos. Can't recommend it enough. Y'all remember our draft shows from last year. It's going to be awesome. Check them out, please. Support us.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Broncos are going to be busy.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if they stay at 9 or not. Going to be interesting.
Well, and 9 is like high enough to get one of the really good players.
Yep.
But low enough where you're like, oh, if I turn this on, you know, this is not going to be I watched it for 5 minutes and now it's just a bunch of other teams doing stuff. Like, I remember when the Avs drafted McKinnon, like we all knew
what was coming. Yep.
And they go up there and they draft McKinnon, and then it was like, all right, we out you, fam. Like,
later.
Fun party. Now, obviously, that was a little different because they did all 7 rounds that day.
Yeah.
So that was a long night, a long draft party. That was like only the diehards of the diehards were still there by the end of it.
Yeah, that's the way it goes.
Wilhelm Westland, baby.
Oh, my God. Also brought to y'all by Gabby Insurance. That's GABI.com/DNVR to check them out. They save on average users $961. You can go save yourself a ton of money with these guys on your home and auto insurance, and it's completely free to check and see how much you can save with them. So check it out today. Get in there. You might as well save yourself a little bit of cash one way or another. Yeah. Just do that. Support our partners. You know how it goes. Second period of the DNVR Avalanche Podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Which matchups, which points, jockeying positions do you want to really dive into here? We've talked about the West a ton, so we can talk around the league a little bit today. We kind of already talked about the Central. It's Nashville and Dallas fighting for the 4th spot. The top is still anything goes. Probably won't be Florida. The East is the most interesting one. Washington and Pittsburgh are separated by 1 point at the top. Washington does have 1 game in hand, and then you have the Islanders and Boston 1 point apart for 3 and 4 right now, and then the Rangers lurking for anyone who slips at 58 points.
Just a touch.
Yeah.
You saw it. Okay.
Which we can talk about it if you want.
But we'll get to it in a minute.
Okay.
The East Division, man. It's fascinating stuff. The Rangers have criminally disappointed this year. Lafreniere, Kakao. I mean, you have you get the gift of the gods 2 years in a row for a rebuilding team. One that wanted to have it be a short rebuild because Mika Zibanejad had the big breakout. You sign Artemi Panarin in the offseason. You get the player that you hope you signed in Artemi Panarin. You get the absolute world beater, the monster.
Yep.
That guy happened. Like, they did everything. They did everything. They've got a great young goaltender in Igor Shesterkin.
I mean,
they trade for Jacob Trouba, number 1D. They draft and develop pretty well. They get guys like Keandre Miller. They've still got Niles Lundqvist coming over. You know, they've got pieces all over the place. And it just hasn't fit together the way it was supposed to because David Quinn sucks.
It's just so incredible how top heavy they are. You mentioned Panarin and Zibanejad. Adam Fox is absolutely for real, even if I don't think he should win the Norris. Ryan Strome has revitalized his career there, basically.
Ryan Strome living up to the billing that he got when the Islanders drafted
so many
him.
years ago. Yeah. But then you have Buchnevich who's having a great year too, and then it just completely falls off a cliff. for them after that. Colin Blackwell is their 7th highest scorer on that hockey team, which
look,
Blackwell's played great,
guy,
but
the
dude has 22 points. You're talking about Lafreniere, 18 points in 50 games. Kakko, 16 points in 43 games. And then it's just a mess after that. Trouba has not gotten the job done for him. After a hot start, K'Andre Miller has just stopped scoring entirely. And then you just have a bunch of names after that.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, Adam Fox has been stupendous.
Yep.
You know, he should be a top 3 finisher for the Norris this year. He's earned that. Sorry, he's earned that.
I'd have maybe at 4 or 5, but sure.
Guy's been nails. He's been so good. And the big criticism of him last year is that he didn't take top competition. Well, that's gone now. They've given him top assignment over Jacob Trouba because Jacob Trouba's been a baddie. He
literally is their entire defense. He's what they have on the defensive end, basically.
I mean, Ryan Lindgren has been good. He's solid, right? Like K'Andre Miller's solid. This is a defense that's going to be a lot better in 2 years.
Yep.
When a lot of these guys mature and grow up and
figure it out a little bit.
Yeah. There's so much potential though. But they have definitely, I mean, you have to wonder what happened, because you have Kaapo Kakko in year 2 hasn't taken any kind of step forward. Yep. Any. Like Lafreniere as an 18-year-old is one thing, right? Yep. You're always going to give an 18-year-old a pass in the NHL. Now a 19-year-old had better figure it out.
I actually was expecting it to be a little more concerning. Kakko has played better in the last 10 games or so, but they were like 30 games into the year and he had less than 10 points. And it was like, oh my God, what is happening in New York? And to a lesser extent, Lafreniere, the same thing. His start to the year was just, how does David Quinn still have a job?
Well, the other side of this is like wing is where they're deep, right?
Yep.
Like Kakko, Kakko and Lafreniere. I mean, Lafreniere is sitting behind Artemi Panarin and Chris Kreider.
Yep.
Like, of course, if you're on a third line, guess who you're playing? You're not taking top competition.
You should be able to dunk on them.
So It's like you're not exactly. It's that balance, right?
Sure.
You have you have the 18-year-olds, you have the prodigies, the guys that everybody thinks are going to be the future, but
at some point they have to be the now.
Like, you're not panicking about Kakko, but I think you're definitely starting to worry.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
You look at what Jack Hughes did in Jersey this year, and how much better do Devils fans feel about Jack Hughes?
Yep.
They're not necessarily like, oh my God, he's going to win MVP. But we knew on draft day, Jack Hughes was going to take a little bit longer.
Yep.
That just because of physical maturity and nothing else, he was going to be a guy that was likely going to be ascending. My camera's over here. He's going to be going like this. And Kakko, the physical maturity, you were a Kakko guy.
Yeah, I still like him. But in his draft year, one of the big things about him was, look, you can drop him into the NHL and he should be solid right away because he's played pro. He has the body type to do it. And that has not happened.
Well, and you look at when we were talking about Colorado maybe winning that lottery or getting a pick somewhere in there, right? Yeah. First, second, or third. And we were debating, okay, well, if they get first, they have to take Jack Hughes.
Yep.
You have to take that guy. And sorry, but oh my God, how crazy. McKinnon and Hughes would be so nasty.
Yeah,
I'm just saying
they would universe that is, yeah.
They would be so nasty. I don't know what happens with Alex Newhook at that point. I don't know if he's an Av.
Definitely doesn't get taken at 16 if you take Jack Hughes.
I mean, if you take Jack Hughes, you take Krebs at 16, right?
Yeah, take the defensive guy.
And you set up McKinnon, Hughes, and Krebs as like that's your answer to Crosby, Malkin, Jordan Stahl from back in the day, right?
The Omega Overlord.
Am I crazy here?
Position, yeah.
Would that not have been like the perfect answer? But
be nice.
The conversation around Kakao though was he's a big guy. He can step into the NHL and physically handle the game now. And while that's been true, mentally he hasn't. He has not handled it at all. He looks lost. Like, just not. It's just not very good for him right now. And it hasn't gotten significantly better in year 2. And I think you have to say at this point it's a concern. And you would normally be like, look, Lafreniere is an 18-year-old in the NHL. Chill. But one, given his level of dominance in the queue,
and 2,
this is definitely a disappointment. But 2,
you just watched this play out with Kakko. Are they doing it again?
It's hard not to think, jeez.
Yep.
Are they? Is this about to be a thing?
Hope not. Certainly hope not. Yeah.
I like the production side of our show today is so easy that Kale is able to tweet his way through it.
Oh, you love to see it.
I think that's awesome. He's getting to enjoy the chaos unfolding in the NFL right now. We have to just talk our way through this.
Thanks for letting me clown about Aaron Rodgers right now. I appreciate it.
Dude, it's crazy. They're having all the fun. This feels like NBA's free agency day.
Amazing.
Remember when our trade deadline was extremely boring?
Well, that's been 2 years in a row. I guess the Avs at least did some stuff, really.
This year was the lowest.
In like, yeah.
Yeah, there was the NHL sent out a press release where they were like, there were 17 moves made at the deadline this year, and they were like, last year there were 55. It was like, this sucks.
I did want to touch on the North really quick. Toronto is clinched. Edmonton in the second pretty handily. Winnipeg behind them, who have come back down to earth a lot in the last stretch, and then Montreal sitting in fourth. Ottawa's been done for a while. Calgary kind of played their way out of a spot.
Yeah.
And then you have Vancouver on the outskirts.
Yeah, it's like, can Vancouver catch a floundering Montreal?
Yep.
And then the battle for second place is on.
Yep.
Edmonton, led by an all-time great season from McDavid.
Literally all-time great.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking, the last I saw, if this was an 82-game season, he'd be on pace for 156 points. And it's like
4 points in 47 games, dude.
Girl, please. That's so insane.
He's not that far away from averaging 2 points per game. Like, he's actually exactly on pace to get 100 points this year if he keeps it up. That man is a freak. I don't know what to tell you on that one. Certainly, that
I will say, helped. Man, you've got to, if you have an opportunity, watch some Edmonton down the stretch.
Experience McDavid hockey.
Just enjoy what's been an insane year, and then whatever happens in the postseason, like whatever, it'll happen, right?
Yep.
But if he carries that over into the postseason, Edmonton is scary. I don't care what arguments you have about Mike Smith or the defense or anything else. If McDavid continues that level of play into the postseason, they are not going to be a fun team to take out.
P.S. Tyson Barrie is totally going to do his favorite thing in the world and end his point total with the number 9 again.
He's going to get to 39?
He's going to find a way to get to 49.
Jeez.
He'd have to play very well down the stretch, but he's got 41 points right now. Very much found himself again after he got the hell out of Toronto. But Edmonton's fun. They aren't raw, unbridled dominance like the Central Division, but they are a fun team to watch. Winnipeg is interesting.
Really top heavy.
They are extremely top heavy, and they rely a lot on Connor Hellebuck.
Concern with them, no more Nick Ehlers for the rest of the regular season.
Who was kind of their dude.
He was there, yeah. I mean, he's been the player that a lot of people believe Kyle Connor is. Because Kyle Connor is atrocious defensively. And that's really where that's really it. He's bad defensively, and Ehlers is awesome. There's a reason I tried to get the Avs to trade for Nick Ehlers for like 3 years. And then he finally scored in the postseason last year. Had the big breakout, and it was like, well, they're never gonna move him now. And then he had this year, and it's like, dang it!
Now he can ask for $1 billion on his next contract, and they can move him then, though. Look, they have some nice pieces at the top. Pionk has been productive as well, not insanely productive, but
keeps on finding a way to be a good, solid player. They so far housed the Rangers in the Jacob Trouba trade.
Oh yeah, that's
Neil Pionk and Ville Heinola for Jacob Trouba. With the way Trouba's played since he got to New York. And given the contract that he signed, that's a theft of a theft by Chevy.
Is it weird that the best player in the Dubois for Line A trade might actually be Jack Roslovic?
Yeah, I mean he's done well in Columbus.
Yep.
Kind of predictably.
Yeah, totally.
He chilled out. He had that like crazy hot start, but chilled out since then. Them trying to ask Patrick Laine to just
not be Patrick Laine.
Yeah, it's like it's like watching Jared Bednar the first year with Tyson Barrie.
Yep.
Where it was like, bro, you just have to let him.
Guy. Yep.
You have to let this guy just be who he is. Yep. I know it's going to drive you crazy,
but you'll get nothing out of him otherwise. Yep.
You just have to live with the warts here and ask him to get better, ask him to work on things. All of that is totally fair. But if you're so intent on trying to get him to do things that you take away the things that make him special, you're shooting yourself in the foot.
Yep.
Because that guy has a special skill, and it happens to be goal scoring.
Kind of an important one.
Exactly. This is one of those, you could just see Columbus is going to screw this up. And he's either going to get traded again because he'll be a year from free agency.
Or lay it out and walk and go score 40 goals somewhere else.
Exactly. And he's going to go to a situation that's like, look.
You shoot puck. That's all we want.
They're going to get all Bruno Mars up on him, and they're going to be like, we love you just the way you are.
Oh, my God.
Come do this with us. Just come set up shop and be a little turret for us. And he's going to be just fine.
Yep. Don't disagree.
Like low key, if you want to make the big splash, you don't want to pay Andre Burakovsky or Nazem Kadri. You restart your second line with Patrick Laine and Alex Newhook.
You have if you're tired of Burakovsky's indecision, Laine, there won't be any indecision with Laine. That will just be puck to the net.
Yeah, I mean, you throw that guy out there with Alex Newhook, and it's like, all right, this is dynamic and nasty.
Montreal, the team really in any danger here? I can't even say that. They're not in danger, but they're the team that are squarely in fourth place in that division. It's kind of what we talked about earlier at the midseason point here. Guess who got hurt? Carey Price. Guess who's floundered? Montreal. Wouldn't you know? Turns out having a healthy goaltender is kind of important. I don't think there's a whole lot.
I mean, Jake Allen's been really good for them.
He has, but
like we've learned Jake Allen is best as
a short-term installment,
like a platoon backup.
Yep.
Like he's not. He can give you starter level play, but
spurts.
you can't make him
until he starts giving up 7 goals a game. Yeah,
yeah, you can't make him the starter. That's all it is. Like Jake Allen has proven very valuable, and I still think Seattle should be all over that dude.
All right, we can take our second period break there as we are brought to you by Strava Craft Coffee, the CBD-infused coffee that has really changed lives. You can get it cold brew down at the DNVR bar if you want to try before you buy. And then you can get 25% off when you use code DNVR25 on your first purchase of Strava Craft at StravaCraftCoffee.com. Highly recommend these guys. They've been with us for a very long time. Also brought to you by Chevalier Mortgage. Both Mike and Virginia have been in the business here locally for a while, and they will get you all set up with the exact right plan for you. Mike not only can get you a great rate, but is a certified financial planner. So they'll look at all aspects of your financial situation when getting you a home loan. When you head on over to their website, you can get yourself a bunch of free DNVR stuff as well as a free consultation. That's DNVRmortgage.com. So jump on it. If for nothing else, just get yourself the free shirt. You can also call Virginia directly at 303-257-6578. Michael Chevalier, NMLS 1931006. Virginia Chevalier, NMLS 1910631. And also brought to you by our favorite teeth people, the Green Mountain Dental Group. They are just 15 minutes from downtown Denver. You can get yourself a free Sonicare toothbrush when you schedule a cleaning, x-ray, and exam with them. We have nothing but great stories about people that have switched over and said it's their best dental experience they've ever had. So check them out today. They'll get you taken care of. Green Mountain Dental Group. Third period of the DNVR Avalanche Podcast, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Rudo and AJ coming at you. Do you want to talk about this AHL sitch?
Yeah.
So just announced, like literally 20 minutes ago, that the AHL, at least the Pacific Division, will have a postseason tournament to be held to at least determine a division champion, which this season the Eagles are in the Pacific.
Yep.
So
it's the only reason we're talking about this. Otherwise, it would be like, okay, whatever.
Yeah. So there will be, that means at least 2 rounds of playoffs for the Eagles this year, if they win round 1, obviously. But all of a sudden, potential for a little bit more hockey for the AHL team and some of the Avs prospects down there. That's pretty darn interesting considering the wealth of prospects that have suddenly joined that hockey team.
Yep.
And we're still waiting on Barron to officially join, but he's on his way at some point. You're looking at potentially adding Kaut back down there for that, Connor Timmins back down there for that, not to mention Newhook, Ranta, Foodie.
Is
whatever.
Newhook going to stay there?
Who?
I said, is Newhook going to stay?
That is a question. If
you're the Avs, I mean, we talked about this a little bit last night, right?
We dabbled, yeah.
Finding on a healthy forward core, it's tough to find a spot that makes sense. But if an injury pops up, and an injury is going to pop up,
just do it. If he keeps scoring like this, just do it.
I mean, it's got to be a temptation. Yeah. More and more all the time. Every time he scores. Every time he has a 2-point game.
That'd be... I mean, I'd do it. You'd do it, I think. I don't know that the Avs would do it. But, boy, would it be fun. I do wonder, like, my assumption is there's just too many people he'd have to jump over.
Mm-hmm.
We know the Avs are going to go to the Magnas and such of the world first, most likely. But
this is where it depends on the injury.
Sure. Is it a top 6 guy? Is it yada, yada, yada?
Because if it's, you're still like, O'Connor is out, Calvert is out, and you're still tinkering with like the 12th guy. You replace Liam O'Brien.
Yeah.
You know, Kaut, Magna.
Newhook isn't going to do anything.
Dries, whatever. Like
7 minutes on the 4th line.
Yeah. Like Newhook is. I'm not going to say totally wasted there, but it's just like. You have to understand, like,
when you give him 7 minutes with skill lacking players, you're not going to be shocked when he has no points.
Right. Like, even like Bowers or whatever, you know, like Bowers at least makes sense in that role too.
Yep.
But Newhook is not he's gonna look out of place, and you're gonna, I don't know. I could see the argument of. It at least gives you a dangerous player on that line that other teams would have to take seriously. You know, it would stop. It may not stop, but it would give pause to other coaches who would just want to be like, okay, we're going to go 4-on-4. We're going to throw our 4th line against your 4th line. Because Newhook is most likely, he would be most likely the most talented player on the ice of all the forwards,
any 4th line anywhere, yeah,
right. Like between any of those playoff teams, he most likely is the most talented guy. And you know, maybe what you do is you look at St. Louis as a way to copy this. Right now, this is how they're using Mike Hoffman. He's on the 4th line, and he's on their top power play unit.
Yeah,
like. They're almost using Mike Hoffman as a straight up specialist. Like they're being very careful about how to use him at even strength because he's atrocious defensively. But when it comes power play time, they don't worry about that. They just cut loose. Let that guy go and eat. So it would definitely, I think from that perspective, it's intriguing. From the perspective of how much better does it make Colorado, and you lose a guy that you lose a spot for a PK guy. Yeah. You know, if Belmar goes into the box, you have Jost and Chushkin and Soderberg and Comfer. Now, at the top of that list, I was excited. Jost and Chushkin are good players. Soderberg and Comfer on the PK have gotten chewed up a little bit.
Yep.
And so you're like, oh, okay. But who are you using in that spot instead of, like, if it's Kaut, he's not on the PK either.
Yep. Very true.
So I think we've made the argument of like what job is available for him. But at the same time, like if he keeps this up, man, And I'm saying another week, 2 weeks of him scoring a game, basically a point per game pace.
Yeah, if he's got, like I said the other week, if he has 14 points in like 13, 12 games or something, it's hard to not do it.
You should really seriously consider it. And like, would it be a great experience for the Eagles to go on a fun little like Pacific Division playoff run? Maybe win a round or two or whatever? Totally.
Well,
it's gonna be great experience for Sampo Ranta. But for Alex Newhook, if that continues on, I'm starting to get won over by the idea of screw it. He's too special.
And there's no, especially if you bring him up for a regular season game or two at the end of the year, if he looks terrible, cool, send him back to the Eagles and he can play in those playoffs. Like,
and this is kind of why I'm like, you should try to use these games against the Sharks and Kings as your testing ground for that. I am not about bringing Alex Newhook up at the start of the first round and throwing him in and being like, figure that out. This is not the Cale Makar situation. They don't need that guy. But if Newhook keeps this up, I think this time next week we should be seriously talking about it.
I don't disagree. I think Newhook would be extremely interesting. I do wonder who else
be a lot of fun.
Would be on their list. Obviously, they gave Kaut the chance here. He has
not gone well.
He was fine in his first couple of games. He didn't like stand out, and then the other night he was awful.
Dude, him and O'Brien last night were atrocious.
Yep. So,
and like we're seeing the problem with Belmar.
Yep.
If Belmar is like the most established, best player on his line,
that line
it's a bad line.
Have any offense? Yep.
It's a bad line. They get rocked.
Yep.
Why is it that when he's next to Calvert and O'Connor, things go well? Even Comfort, things have gone better
because he's getting carried.
Because those guys can actually move the needle just a little bit. JT Comfort on the wing, I haven't had any problems with this year. JT Comfort as a center, I think, totally collapsed. But JT Comfort on the wing, no serious problems. All of this, he's still overpaid, et cetera, whatever. Different issue. But as a regular NHL player, I don't have any problems with it. The people who are like, oh, he's totally useless, wildly overstating that.
All right. We'll see. Get a good look at some more Avs prospect stuff, which is always good because it's been somewhat limited for a bunch of guys this year.
Yeah, and this is great. This is great news just because the Eagles, any more games for the Eagles is more games for a lot of these kids.
Yep.
That's only a good thing. Just let them play.
Let them play.
Play all summer.
Look, I think the way AJ put it the other night is pretty accurate at this point. The Avs have 9 games left in their season, and it's kind of just sitting around and waiting for them to end and getting to the playoffs at this point.
Yep.
It's yes, the way that their division plays out could still flop. They could still catch Vegas for first. Minnie is still there in third.
They could finish in third. They could win the division. We'll see.
Yep. But at the end of the day, you go through everybody that matters in the playoffs. It doesn't matter which seed you start in. You have to go through 4 rounds. So, yeah, it should be fun nonetheless. Hopefully the Avs can get back in the win column against some of these weaker teams and make it interesting down the stretch at the very least. But I guess that's all I got, AJ, unless there's anything you want to throw out there playoff race-wise.
Nope, I'm good.
Cool. guess that means it's time for us to get out of here for the day. Thank you, everyone watching, listening. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button on YouTube. If you're not watching on YouTube, highly recommend. That's the best way to catch us. And of course, you can listen to us on podcast, whatever you prefer as well. But YouTube, you see our, well, I'm not going to say beautiful faces because we don't have the lovely Evan Rowell on the show today, but you can catch our faces one way or another. We will be back post-game tomorrow, and we hope to see you all there. So until then, have a good rest of your Thursday.